So are you a libertarian?
Yeah, I consider myself a small L libertarian, and I've been a libertarian presidential candidate in the past. I think that was probably the last time that you and I spoke. But I joined the Republican Party in 2017 because I think that we probably are going to do better presenting a unified front against what the left has become, which is a threat to all of our liberties. We can agree or disagree on certain social issues here or there, or the meaning of the Constitution or the importance of one religion over another. And the Republican Party will have a lot of different varying views on that. But we probably should all work together under the Republican Party to fight against totalitarian leftism.
And you ran for president?
In 2016, I ran as a libertarian for president of the United States, and I took second place in a crowded primary against Gary Johnson, who became the eventual nominee. But after that, that next year, I decided that I would probably be better off, bringing my talents and my skills to the Republican Party, which I help here in Missouri with a lot of issues. I work on the state level here in Missouri to, limit government, fight abortion, fight taxes, and do what I can to fight for liberty here as a Republican.
When you ran for president, did I read, I don't know if I heard it or read it, that you believe you would have beat out that guy had not the great white hope Donald Trump supported him?
Yeah. So the funny thing about that is my dad actually, as much as he loves me, he says, you know what, Austin, I'm really glad on some level that you didn't win the libertarian nomination because you're a much more friendly to conservative type of libertarian. And he said he's afraid that I might have siphoned off away more votes from Donald Trump that could have brought Hillary Clinton the election in 2016. And there is some rumors that Roger Stone knew that as well and secretly tried to ensure that Gary Johnson was the nominee in 2016. But that's all fun conspiracy theory and skullduggery in the past.
Yeah. Do you support the great white hope now?
Well, what do you call the Great White Hope?
You don't
Is
know
that
who the
Trump?
you don't know who the great white hope is? What the? May I
Well, I
intro-
tell you, I
may I
actually,
introduce you to the great white hope?
And then I tweeted, I have many millions between Facebook and Twitter. It's great. It's like owning a newspaper without the losses. It's incredible.
Meet the great white hope.
I voted for him. So I ran in 2016 because he had been a Democrat. He had talked about socialized medicine and said a lot of things that made me not believe that he would be a very libertarian Republican. But then after I saw how he governed, after a couple of years, I felt more comfortable voting for him. So I did. I voted for him in 2020,
Right on.
and because I saw how he had governed, because that's all I care about, Jesse.
Yeah,
I don't
me
care.
too.
I I don't care about somebody's personality.
Yeah.
I don't like politicians most of the time, generally. But if somebody does the right thing, even if it's a small step in the right direction, I think that's worthy of support.
I totally agree, man. I absolutely agree. So you worked with Ron Paul for a while.
Yeah, I got my start in politics back in 2007. I was just a street activist for Ron Paul, and I ended up helping to raise, almost $6 million in a big money bomb. That was kind of the big Tea Party money bomb that kicked off the Tea Parties back in 2008. And ended up working at Fox News a couple years later for Judge Andrew Napolitano, and was still a big Ron Paul supporter. Helped Rand Paul as well, as much as I could, and I really started over the years. My views have evolved. I still believe in the same things policy wise, but in terms of the strategy for liberty, I definitely have changed my mind about what kind of how we can move these policies forward and what politicians may or may not be worthy of support. I used to be so hypercritical that to the point of nobody could earn my support other than Ron Paul. But I think now I see as I grow older that we do need a bigger tent, and that people like Sarah Palin and others, what small differences we have here or there, I should probably look at the bigger picture here. And I see a lot of people who are in the Republican Party who are working to do a lot of good, even if, again, I don't agree with them on a lot of things. And I vocalize that. And it definitely hurts my career as a conservative libertarian pundit, when you say things, that disagree with what the majority of people on the right believe. But I kind of see myself as, the tortoise versus the hare approach. And, I'm going slow and steady, building towards what I believe is right and truthful. And that's what I fight for.
And Rand Paul is Ron Paul's son. Is that right?
Yeah, he is. And, the senator from Kentucky I really think that if you look at how he performed during COVID-19, look at Thomas Massey, look at the Libertarian-Republicans, they were our saviors. Because if you saw any of the testimony or any of the questioning that Rand Paul did of Anthony Fauci during COVID-19, they were the best. They were the absolute best in holding those people accountable.
And the reason I asked about Rand Paul, because Rand Paul gave a talk once here in LA back then, back in a while back now. And he was running for something, I believe, at the time. And he was agreeing with the blacks. And I don't remember exactly how the conversation went right now, but he was agreeing with the blacks like they were victims. And I got up and asked him why was he doing that. And he didn't like the question at all, so he wouldn't answer it. And that's when I realized he was a beta.
Well, certainly he got beat by Donald Trump, and I think a lot of it has to do with the energy that Donald Trump came at the country with in 2016. But you know what the truth is, Jesse, and people like me got to realize it. I don't know that it's so much as he's a beta, really, as much as he is a nerd, because libertarians in the Republican Party make up a very small minority within the Republican Party, but we usually tend to be the eggheads, right? We got our nose in a book, or we've got some, really obscure view on some issue that most people don't identify with to some extent. So some people look at that and say, "Oh, well, he's a beta," and I don't know the situation that you're talking about there. Maybe he gave off that energy, but he certainly doesn't give that energy when he's, ripping into Anthony Fauci and others. You kind of need a nerd. Sometimes you need a nerd to take on a nerd.
But
you know what I'm saying?
I noticed that white people are not afraid to speak up to white people, but they're afraid of the blacks. Are you afraid? What's wrong with the blacks?
Okay, well, can you blame them, Jesse? If you think about it, not everybody wants to lose their job. Not everybody wants to lose their business or, their place at church or their social circle. People like you and I, right? We've placed ourselves out, beyond a place where we can sort of be touched, because as political actors, our views are widely understood. And I do think people should stand up and be more courageous in talking about racial issues. And certainly the racial animus between blacks and whites of this country is at a fever pitch. I didn't live through the 1960s or 70s, but I am told that at that time that it was very comparable to what we face today. We don't have the Vietnam War or anything like that, but to some extent, I'm not trying to make an excuse for cowardice, but I know the reason why a lot of people are afraid to speak up is because of the amount of danger that exists now with the ability for someone for a tweet. Did you see the NASCAR driver who got suspended for liking a tweet about George Floyd?
I remember something like that.
Yeah, this was just last week. A NASCAR driver liked a tweet about George Floyd, suspended by NASCAR. Now, this is somebody who's got a lot to lose, right? Millions of dollars, but still he'll probably be okay.
Yeah.
But most, I think, average citizens, Jesse, they don't what they have to lose. They're trying to take care of their families, so they don't wade into politics, because the left has effectively weaponized everything against them. So more people don't speak out with the problems that we have, the racial animus in this country, that's mostly coming from left-wing communists that have identity politics. And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on identity politics in general, Jesse, because the left has pushed identity politics for years, but the right is now just starting to embrace it as well. And I wonder what your thoughts are on that.